MLS Listings here at MLS Listings Live. Welcome to the show, number 11. It's a pretty amazing. We just keep coming back with more titles, more interesting news, more upcoming industry trends that are taking place, and also great tools, as we know, if you've seen some of our previous shows. But today we're here to talk about a brand new introduction, and it's called Members Only. Maybe some of you have seen myself or Robert Bustamante or Dave Wetzel, our CEO, out in the field this week talking it up at different meetings. We're going to dive into details here. And while Miranda, our director, brings Robert Bustamante onto the show, and we will see, there he is. I see him coming on now, as they say. Robert Bustamante is the director of our compliance department. He's sort of my counterpart. We've been messing around at this for 11 or 12 years now. So having a good time. And Robert, what I like about having you here, not only, you're fun to be with, I got to tell you, but you've been on this members only adventure from the start. You've worked with the rules committee. You've been in the board meetings. You helped get us over into and stay compliant with NAR's clear cooperation policy.
Right.
And so you're the right person for the job here, Guy.
Well, thanks. I think it was like 6 or 7 months ago when I was a guest on MLS Listings Live, and we were introducing the clear cooperation policy change on the national basis.
Right.
And that was a good show. We got a pretty good response.
You did break the internet that day, as I recall.
Well, me, the Kardashians, is pretty.
I know.
Same breath, right? You can, yeah, right.
Yeah. Anything could happen. And I know you're gonna, bring on your new fashion line at the end, new merchandise.
Obviously, the members only. We're actually going retro, Mark. I thought it was pretty hilarious. Our promo was for members only. I don't know how many of our audience remembers it, but I do, and it was pretty funny.
And I had hair, it turns out.
Okay, yeah, you looked pretty good. Yeah, I'm not sure what was happening with my thing, but it was one of those, it was an 80s thing. So
it had a bit of a helmet look to it, but I got to admit, but you were fashionable, of course. Yeah. Hey, as you're bringing up your set of slides that we're going to go through here, I want to remind the viewers that hey, if you've got a question for Robert or myself or anything like that, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And we want you to use that, and we'll do the Q&A here at the end of the whole process. And Robert, there you go. You've got the big show. So you're introducing members only. Let's get started.
Let's get started. Here we go. So we're introducing members only. It's a new listing type on our system. And the background behind it was, like we introduced clear cooperation. We had coming soon for a while, and agents were using it. And then NAR's policy change happened, and we had this huge influx of attention to that category. And when we had that attention, we started noticing, our subscribers started noticing some gaps and shortcomings with having the bulletin board style way off to the side,
right,
versus having it mainstream, right? And so we had some listing changes, and we definitely had some search requirements. All this feedback we got led us to say, you know what, we need to change. We need to do something different, and we started driving down the members only path.
Right, and we did see some seller preferences, right? We're in Silicon Valley. We've got some sellers that may want a little bit less exposure.
Right.
And so absolutely, we took a look at it all.
Yeah. And so we got the feedback, and we had direct feedback, like we like to say that our subscribers aren't shy in giving us feedback. And so we needed to broaden our solution, and we actually just created something that would stay compliant and give our listing agents and buyer's agents choices and convenience for this type of listing. Again, so it's a feature that you may or may not use. I would say probably 95% of our subscribers are going to go straight to active, out on the internet, get the broadest based audience you can into the largest market you can, which is recommended with respect to fair housing and those kinds of issues.
Right.
But if you have a specific need, we think we can help you with our members only solution.
Okay. And I think it's important to note, Robert, that the solution we're coming out with is sort of the first evolution of
Right.
members only.
Yeah.
We're going to keep listening out there.
Right.
And what we've put together so far went through the rules committee, which is made up of realtors, went through the board, which is made up of realtors.
Right.
These are solutions direct from the field.
Yeah, and so I think you hit the nail on the head with the evolution. We needed to do something. We're doing it in Q4.
Right.
We're looking like everybody else, we're looking to 2021 very optimistically.
Right.
And so we're going to put it into effect Q4. We had to come out the way we have it now, but it's certainly going to change over time and evolve. And we're looking forward to feedback at what works, what doesn't work, and how we can make it better.
Got it.
So the members only is, in short, and it's really kind of simple, and some of the best ideas are the simplest. It's really just an active listing. It's a listing type. It's not a status. It stays compliant with NAR's clear cooperation policy because all the brokers and agents that subscribe to our service can see it. But it does give you a tool to manage, your data distribution or listing distribution, and it gives you some DOM control. So we kind of massaged it within our own framework of our system. And I think it gives everybody a little bit more transparency and a little bit more control.
So when you say listing type, Robert, that would be like, I have an active listing, but it's a short sale. The short sale
Right.
is the type,
right? It's a type. Yes. Yeah, active listing short sale, active REO, active probate, active members only.
Got it.
Right. So that's a good example. And members only listing, very much like our old coming soon, does not get sent to the internet. That means that it's not going to go out to the web. It's not going to go out in our IDX data feeds. It's going to stay only localized on the MLS. Okay. Only people with username and passwords that subscribe to our service can get these listing information. It won't go to our data share partners, right? It's going to be exclusive to MLS Listings today, but you have the full matrix search interface to be able to search for. I mean, it's going to look like pretty much a regular listing, beds, baths, price, area, whatever you want to do, maps, that kind of thing. So it's really, really available, really transparent.
So what we've created then is this little treasure chest of active, sellable homes that only are available to an MLS Listings member. That's a huge benefit.
Yeah, and we're about to show the listing management process, and you'll see that there's not a little tweak, there's a big tweak. That this is where, in the feedback we've gotten in some of the previous shows, where people have a tendency to try to wrap their heads around because it's a new concept for us, and I'll get there in a couple of slides. So this is very familiar. Everybody knows this look right here. You can see Mark and Michelle's faces on there every time you log in. So you use the same process. Log in, select Manage Listing or My Listings, however you get to the listing management application. And very much the same way, you select that you're going to add a new listing. Only this time, when you add a new listing, you'll have a new choice, and it'll be Add a New Members Only Listing.
Okay.
So it's a listing type, right? You can comp, coming soon. The coming soon link will go away. So they won't compete with each other.
Okay.
So you would add a new members only listing, and now you get a pop-up that says, hey, you're putting this into members only. And the reason why we want to remind you is because the distribution is limited. So we don't want you to accidentally cursor over the wrong type and add a members only without knowing. Right. So here you're going to know that it's not going to Zillow. Are you okay with that? The answer is yes, I'm okay. So now here's a new pop-up. Then this is the part that's novel. You're going to tell the community whether or not you're going to show this property. So it's not going to be us telling you you can't show. It's going to be you saying, I don't want to show. Or I'm not ready to show. So you say, is listing available for showing? You can select yes or no. If you select no, you get a reminder that says, okay, it's not ready to show. That means you can't show the property, right? And it's just really common sense, and we don't expect any real problems. But we are reminding you, if you put it in members only, do not show. Do not show it to anyone until you show it to everybody. Otherwise,
That's the critical thing. There's not going to be this, well, I'm going to show it to Bob, but no, Susan can't go. Right. It's all or nothing here. And that's that clear cooperation concept, right?
Well, yeah, it's a clear cooperation concept. It's fair housing concept. It's common sense concept. We still have the ability for you to exclude the listing and show it to your own agents within your own brokerage. That still exists. Okay. What we're saying is if you want to communicate information about your listing to other agents or a broader base than what your own office offers, then put it into members only. If it's not ready, don't show it, right? And if you have this really works for new construction, right? They have 3, 6, 9 months to get it ready, but they still want to talk about it. They want to say, hey, this is coming. So new construction, you put it into members only, do not show. Once you start getting either a model or you're letting people come in, then just move it over to show.
Right, turn the switch on.
And so when you do move it over to show, or if you just add it as a members only show, you're not, you're ready to go. You just follow our normal process. Just very, very, so it's very familiar. Again, so the new introduction is the active members only, do not show. That's a new concept. Right.
Now, in that input process, just so for clarification, same required fields. If you're in the show environment, same way to put a photograph in or a video link, something like that. So no changes in the rest of the listing management.
Right. It's all very familiar. So it's not like, we're taking things out of left field. It's all very familiar to you, but there are some changes to the rules and policies which will help aid us as we march down this evolution to get to where we want to be if we indeed ever really get there, because we're constantly evolving. So, but of primary interest is this introduction back into Matrix, which is very familiar. So now, if you remember the
it is.
There it is. Yeah. I mean, what is this, right? This is like contrary to the information age. And so this is how we had the coming soon display.
Right.
So that was part of the feedback. Said, hey, listen, we really need to be able to see more on these properties, be able to get to them quicker, sort, this type of thing. So we're going to introduce them into Matrix where you'll see the regular search interface that you're very familiar with. And only there'll be a modest change where down here in the lower right-hand side, you'll be able to filter for members only show or members only do not show. It's up to you what you want to do. They'll be in there. You decide how you want to extract them.
But if I don't want to filter, right, I just want to see them all mixed in with all the rest of my actives, then I would not check anything here, right?
Yeah, it'll just be included, right? So now you'll have all of that available inventory, and then you can decide to take action and navigate your client through those properties.
Right.
But how will you know? Well, you can see on the screen that there'll be an indicator, right, that says you have a green capital M that says this is a members only listing. It's an icon we're adding.
That stood for Mark.
Yeah, well, it's more than Mark, right?
No Mark.
The favorable one is the no Mark, but
no Mark,
the members only would be members only show, and if you have the red hash through it, of course, that would mean what?
No show.
No show, right? See, so that's how easy it is, right? It's not rocket science.
Right, if I can understand it.
That's right. And then even on the listing, you'll have it indicated here as well. It'll say members only show and members only do not show. And what this gives us and our community is the ability to sort of take back all of this, the question of my client C listings that I can't find.
Right.
Now it puts you in the driver's seat. These aren't going to be on Zillow. They're not going to be on Redfin. They're not going to be on Realtor.com. You will be able to say, hey, not only are there 6 properties in your market, but there's 7, 8 more. There's 2 more that I know are available, and I can show those to you, right? Or I know that they're not available to you, but they are coming soon. They're in a current do not show status. So that's kind of how we're replacing coming soon with members only. Now, this is also part of it is our rules and policies around this. So we want to provide structure. We want to provide a framework. We want to provide organization and transparency. And we just didn't have that in the blobo listings over in the coming soon category, right? It was just It was just, I don't know, you know how to describe it, but
Block
it wasn't what you're used to.
listings. I like that.
Yeah. So here I have all of our normal rules apply as a typical listing on our system, right?
Okay, that's simple.
Yeah, very simple. And because we had introduced a new concept of do not show, we had to amend the rules to allow for this to be on the system with no showing. So obviously when it's on the system as members only do not show, do you think showings would be allowed? No, that's common sense. And that's the common sense approach that we're saying. And since it's not ready for market, should we compel somebody to put a photo? Okay. No, they might be landscaping, they might be painting, they might be renovating.
It's not ready yet,
so it's just not ready to have best foot forward, right? So these two elements have been removed or lifted as requirements for active listings in the no-show category.
Okay.
Show would be just like a regular listing. It's just limited distribution.
Right.
It's not going out anywhere. So just be conscious of the fact that it's going to be very slow or low traffic because you're not going to get that global market looking at that property.
Okay.
And then last, of course, you wouldn't say members only do not show, but, call for appointment or, you solicit an offer. We want to look at all offers on Friday. So those types of common sense elements are what we wrapped around with rules and policies. There might be some changes down the road, but right at the jump, right at the outset, we think people are going to, do things in a common sense manner and just, list their property. And again, 95% of our listings are going to go active out on the internet because that is the broadest market. That's where you get the most competitive pricing or competitive exposure to your listing. But if you have a specific need or you're not ready, we have these two tools available for you.
Now, I'm going to make you go back one step, though.
Okay.
I've asked you this before, and you used to roll your eyes at me and shake your head, but I really want to make sure we're clear on this. Define show.
Okay. So we actually do define showing. I don't have the definition in front of me, but it would be allowing access to your property either in person or virtually for the purposes of evaluating it for purchase. Okay. Right. And so we define it, and we don't prohibit photos today. So you could put 50 photos, but as we evolve this, maybe we're going to be looking at it with feedback from the community that said, hey, if there's 50 photos, I'm seeing the whole property. You're basically showing this to me, right? Or virtual tours. So that's going to be in our next phase. Okay. We're looking for feedback, how much exposure we want to require or not allow on the members only do not show listings.
Okay. And just going to remind people as we move on here, that Q&A section down below, there's a button down there. It's filling up, Robert. People want to keep talking. So
good. Yeah. So they're engaged, and that's good. And so that's how we're going to get the feedback. And again, most of it is just checking to make most of these questions are sanity checks. So what if this happens? And it's really just straightforward common sense.
Right.
Continuing, speaking of common sense, since you are on the MLS, and all brokers and agents can see it, you can talk about it to everyone and share the property information.
Okay.
You can have yard signs that say this property is coming soon when you're in no-show. You could have yard signs that say it's coming soon when you're in show for members only. It's really up to you. But if you're in no-show, then the only sign writer you would be able to use would be coming soon.
Got it.
Because that makes sense, right?
Okay. I've always enjoyed since May. I go to tour meetings, you go to tour meetings, and somebody stands up in the wants and needs, or, I've got a new listing thing, and say, is the MLS guy here? Right? So I want to talk about it. Right.
So now you would just drop it into MLS, members only do not show, and just tell everybody, I got it coming soon. We're painting. We think it's going to be on the market within 2 weeks. We think it's going to be roughly, $1.3 million.
Right.
And there's no problem there. Right.
Yeah, totally.
And then when you're ready, you get it painted. Then you can decide, do I want to go to the next hop members only show or just straight to the full, global market? Yeah. It's up to you. You don't have to use this category in any way, shape, and form. You can exclude it while you're doing your renovations and getting ready. As long as you don't start soliciting or talking to other brokers outside of your own brokerage, that's fine.
And right? even with 535 listings currently incoming soon, most people are going to go right to active still. That's the predominant way of marketing property is go to active, get the exposure, get a lot of eyeballs on it. So, this is going to, as you have saying, there's a small select group of listing agents. They're going to take advantage of this, and rightfully so.
Well, yeah, there's a small group of sellers that have that need, right? And now you can provide them that service based on their need.
Right.
But most sellers and we think most businesses would agree that you want the most available buyers to see your property.
Right. Right.
And then to conclude this slide, if you have a members only show listing that's regular, the only difference is that it's just not distributed. So you have no restrictions on advertising. You put it on social media, for sale here, for sale there,
Okay.
wherever you want. But, you're not really taking advantage of the full power of the MLS if you do that, because we would send it out to, all of these, instead of getting, 10,000 people looking at it, how about, 16 million?
Right.
Right. So that's something to think about.
Okay.
So a DOM is going to be affected a little bit. Do not show obviously would not accrue DOM because you are not showing it and you are not actively marketing it. So people that are have a long-term or a longer term like new construction, or we've had lots of cases where somebody expected it to be on in 2 weeks and then somehow it slipped. Something happened, plumbing or something happened. Yeah. They had to move it out. So while you're in no-show, there's just not going to be any DOM accrual.
Okay.
Once you move it over into active, it has regular DOM. But for members only show, the DOM will accrue in the background, but not display. So the idea there is to remove the emphasis on days on market, right? While you have a limited market, right? The emphasis is going to be on price, availability, desirability, other elements of the property. However, we're not going to throw it out completely yet. It's easy enough to do days to sell at the consummation of the deal. We would know when the accepted date is, right? That kind of thing. We do the calculation. So DOM will be displayed on sold or the other off-market statuses. You'll see the time that it was in the system prior to the accepted offer.
Got it.
And some other things. So we're going to slice up some other metrics, right? Like the time in members only versus the time in active, right? Again, there's no DOM relationship while you're not showing, but while you're showing to other brokers, there's a little days on market kind of accruing. But if you move it over to active, then you have a different segment, right? You have a different market. So we're probably going to break out those two values later on so people can do some deep analytics.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so we're getting towards the end. So the key takeaways are that it's actually just a basic active status with characteristics that are a little bit different. Again, the active do not show is the new concept that we're introducing, no DOM. Then as you ease it through the marketing chain, you can go to members only if you'd like. Okay. You don't have to. And then you go to active, the global marketing if you want. You can go 0 to 100 miles an hour if you want. Whatever it is you think is best for your seller with your seller's permission to bring them their product or their property to market. It will not consent to the internet, does not go to Redfin, does not go to Realtor.com, does not go to Trulia, Zillow, or any of the data feeds going out in IDX. You use the full weight of the matrix search engine and all the advanced search fields to use to find these properties and introduce your clients to them. And then we haven't wrapped a lot of detail around the rules. They're very simple. We're going to post them. We're going to post kind of an overview. Then we'll do the actual rule language. But it's very basic. If you use common sense, you'll never run afoul of the system. And again, we are NARCCP compliant. So once it's on the MLS, you're good to go. You can talk to brokers outside of your own brokerage about your property.
Okay. And just like any other rule or condition or anything like that in the MLS, your team in compliance is going to be ready to answer these questions, in February when you get that next listing and you need, you want a quick refresher, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have things up on we're going to have up in our pro support community, right? Support help teams. We have our customer service team who are excellent. They'll be able to help you. We have our compliance team who are excellent. We have our outreach team who are okay. And as I said, everybody else was excellent. And The dig was
We will see.
and you know, we'll have, because again, we don't have really everybody's attention in December.
Okay.
So we're rolling it out. It's nice. Well, December's the new spring, so
yes,
who knows anymore? That was the idea anyway. And then we'll just reintroduce this again in the new year.
Okay.
And then we'll have feedback of what's working. You know, people will give us their information, and we'll coalesce that. But there is something you need to do, because the coming soon is going to go away. We won't be able to list in that category any longer. And so we want to move those out into the mainstream. And you can do that either by going to no show if you're not showing yet, or into members only if you'd like, or go over into, you know, the active global internet yes kind of thing. Okay. And we will notify people directly. We're not going to tell you that you need to do something if you don't have a coming soon listing.
Right, right.
Yeah, so it'll be direct information to them, and there'll be time periods, and as we march down, there'll be, you know, deadlines that'll come. And so right now, though, we're taking kind of a easing everybody into this kind of process. We think it's going to be available. What are we saying? Our
making me commit to it, not saying the date. No. December 1st, that was good. I got to admit, December 1st is the date we're taking a shot at, and engineering and development say they're ready to go.
Yeah, so that
excellent training team is ready to go. You're mildly capable compliance
team. Our excellent support team's ready to go. So all systems are go.
Exactly
for December 1 launch. Yeah. And so, but it's again, it's gonna land with a resounding thud, because it's not going to affect most agents. They're going to list and search in a normal way.
Okay.
Right. It's just like agents. Are you using cloning? Are you using multi-class? No.
Right.
You know, you might be. These are tools available in your quiver that you can use to out on your listing presentations. And you know, if your seller's so inclined, then yeah, you can meet their needs.
Okay. And I think what you just said, in my quiver, right? My things that I can do, because Robert, no other MLS is doing this. This is a local solution developed by local real estate agents to fit the local needs of our 5 counties. So San Francisco, I don't think so. East Bay, no. Right. This is for an MLS listings member only.
Yeah. So there's 2 terms you can use. You can use bold, well, actually 3 terms: bold, inventive, or crazy. Okay. Right. And we like to think we're a little bit of all of those things. And so, you know, we are the only MLS that I know of, at least in this state, that has active do not show category, and where DOM doesn't accrue. And also we have deferred DOM. These kinds of things are pretty innovative. And that's what I was saying, you know, when we look at when we get the Q&A, it's going to be around that kind of concept, right? What that it makes sense, because that's new and we kind of have to digest that.
Right.
But I think what'll happen is over time, people will start realizing, you know, this is something I can use or not use. It's not something I have to use. And so you have choices.
Okay.
So that concludes this segment, and so I'll leave it in your capable hands as to what we want to go on to next here.
Well, I'm gonna have you stop sharing. That'll put us both back on the screen again. We have got a whole lot of questions. This is going to be fun. I want to go back to one, and Miranda's sort of feeding them to me as we go along here, but she had a great one. Oh, it had to do with the how do I move it from members only? Excuse me, how do I move it from coming soon to members only?
Yeah, when that time comes, you'll have, when you go into the coming soon category, it'll be something like, welcome back, Mark. Where do you want to move it? You're not going to have choices, right? To say, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to edit the price. It's going to be, you have a choice to do 1 or 2 things. Move it over to no show, move it over to show. So it's going to be a bulletproof type activity.
Okay. Yeah. Because on December 2nd, I go in to do a price change to my coming soon. It's going to say, okay, hey, glad to see you back. Yeah, right. Absolutely. We want to do your price change, but we're going to move you
over to make your price change.
First. Yeah. Okay.
And then once you're moved over into that listing type, all the other fields just light up, and you can do whatever you want to do.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go down this list. Great feedback, guys. Really appreciate your questions out there. Sort of keep them coming as we go along. Oh, I love this one. What's the fine for showing in the no-show category?
Let's not do that, first of all, but
Okay.
it's going to be, there's a dollar amount that's likened to our clear cooperation.
Okay.
And so, and our, the way we built it in is that it will escalate if there's no cooperation. So, initially you'll come out with a $500 penalty. If you don't move it over into show, then it'll go higher and higher and higher. I mean, that's really not our point. The point is we want to give you the tools. If you don't do it, just like clear cooperation, we actually have something like 300, or I don't have the exact number, lots of reports of clear cooperation violations or potential violations, but we have 100% cooperation. So we're really happy with that regard. We haven't had to bring the hammer down on anybody, and rightfully so. So we don't really expect that to be a problem in this new change.
Got it. Okay. It coming soon is going away, right? There was a
right. The little button will eventually change, and
right. We'll change the button and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the coming soon category is being fully replaced by the members only. Matrix question, and I can answer this one. Can you filter these searches by office? And the answer to that is absolutely. If I want to say I only want to take a look at the members only in my office, yes, Matrix will be able to, allows you to do that now, right, for all sorts of stuff. Identifying an office, you're going to use the additional data fields at the bottom left-hand side of the Matrix screen. Once again, you can find the answer to this of how to add a field at the Pro Community help page, support page, in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Go in there and type in some keywords, advanced data fields, and it will show you, it'll walk you right through how to filter on top of your filter kind of thing. Boy, lots of questions coming in. Can I email these listings to a client?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Right, you can. So the way it's going to work at launch is that if you have an auto email set up for a client and a members only listing pops in, it will be part of that search for that client. If the client goes to the client portal, however, they cannot search for that that type, right? So you navigate your client. You might want to concierge those listings, or you might want to look at them and not send them no-shows, because it might just create frustration for them. But it's up to you how you're going to navigate your client through those listings.
Okay. The question is, will other MLSs be removing coming soon? They actually never got coming soon, right? Because even coming soon was for our members only.
Yeah, we haven't sent it out. So other MLSs are doing things like this, and that's one of the evolution questions over time. Should it be distributed between other systems and just have professionals only? That's just not a question for me to say. It'd be for our community to say.
Okay. I think this is going to be a phase 2 answer. Will members only be sortable in its column in the Matrix display? And the icon will be there, but that little column header is not there. And you got to have that column header in order to click on it to get it to sort the column. So we're going to put that down as a phase 2. We're going to get that over to PM and have them give us something at the top there. So you can click on it and move all the members only to the top, that kind of stuff. In regards to no solicitation of offers, are preemptive offers forbidden?
Well, you can't show. Right. And you have an obligation to deliver all offers unless the seller says, I don't want these offers. Right. So when you're counseling your client on your marketing strategy, if do not show is part of that, you might want to talk to them about whether or not they want to view offers as they come in. Right. Because I can't show it. So these would be subject to inspection, basically. But you have an obligation to present all offers, and there's no problem with that. You just can't show. And your seller can say, however, I don't want to see any offers until I go into the mainstream, market. They can direct that activity. So that's the answer to that question.
Okay. Let's see. Boy, good questions coming in here. Availability for users, that will be December 1st. is the date we're going after. I'm literally checking these off, and Miranda's adding to the bottom of the list as we're going. She is good. She types faster than I read. Could an agent sell his or her listing themselves as it is in the do not show category?
No, you have to have a listing agreement. Well, I guess sort of. You have to have a listing agreement to put the property on the system. If you are going to have if it's your own property and you're going to use your broker brand and your license to list it on the system, then you'd have to have a listing agreement, and you would disclose that, seller is a realtor, that kind of thing, like we do today.
Right.
So
I think
our members only doesn't affect that.
What I'm thinking is you come to Mark Messimer's fantastic real estate company to help sell your home. I put it in members only do not show because your lawn needs to be replaced, Robert. And I find a buyer for it at the same time, right? So I'm selling my own listing. It's is that allowed? I've got it in do not show, but I come up with a buyer for it as well.
Well, I mean, you're soliciting the offer, right? So if you're not publicly soliciting the offer, I suppose no one's going to know, but you're going to have to sell it to them without showing it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm out there supervising the replacement of your lawn, which, by the way, could use a little water, by the way.
That's right. Well, I'm drought conscious.
Okay. And the buyer shows up. Okay. Boy, this is a big question. What are the main advantages? So let's break that in two. List advantages for the listing agent.
So why would you do it? Why would you use any of these features? So number one is you aren't ready to show your property, but you want to talk to other brokers about it. I have a coming soon, right? A legitimate coming soon. It's not ready to market. Drop it into members only do not show. Talk to everybody about your listing, as long as you're not showing it, there's no problem. It's a tool. You would use that. It's like you said, the broker's tour, wants and needs, right? Then if your seller doesn't want a lot of exposure and doesn't want a lot of traffic, they have a quieter approach to selling their property for whatever reasons.
Okay.
Sometimes what's been bandied about was law enforcement. You might have a judge who is, selling their home, and they don't want all the felons to know where they live. And things like you would use members only.
Okay.
And you would even use those remarks in members only, the private remarks in members only, to describe your seller need. Hey, this, you want to keep this very private. That's another good point is that, why would you have public remarks on members only? Right. So we have it today because we didn't remove the code.
Right.
But should we have it tomorrow? Because why would you have public remarks?
Something to be considered. Absolutely.
Not going to the public. Right. So that's going to be one part of the evolution. But yeah, that's how you would use it if your seller has a need. If your seller doesn't have a need, then there's no real value in doing that because you're really limiting the distribution. And I may get on the soapbox real quick. We advise everybody, or we caution you, I think that's your language, to use the largest open market you can for your properties.
Right.
You want to make them available to all potential qualified buyers. You don't want to limit it. You don't want to create a sense of discrimination, a sense of bias. You want to open a fair, presentation. Market. Yeah, fair market, right? So that's part of that fair housing thing. And so, if you're hiding a property, if you're cloistering it, and you're not making it available to all qualified buyers, that's something that you should consider when you're talking to your seller about your marketing strategy.
Okay, and those activities by the listing agent become the advantage for the buyer's agent. Right? Because now that buyer's agent has more information, they're able to offer all homes to all people, kind of things, right? Their quiver gets bigger.
Yeah, if you have a qualified buyer, right? So if you're not, obviously we think the MLS is a super tool for brokers and agents and sellers. But if your seller has a particular need, members only is a really good way of satisfying all of those requirements to get
Okay.
it in an open market,
Got it.
competitive market, right?
Okay. Will members of Do Not Show have a posting date on the listing information? So will it show when it went into that listing type?
Yeah, so that's part of our framework. That's part of the organization. That's part of the structure, is that all listings will have a list date, right, when they were put onto the system. Now, how we calculate things or what we display around that is up to us as a community, but I don't think we can take away list date and still have any type of framework in the system.
Okay. Okay. Hey, will these listings go out in auto emails? You sort of addressed that with the email portion of it all.
Yeah, well, so today, we initially said that we didn't want them to go out in auto emails, right? And primarily because if you have no show going out, the client's going to say, why are you sending this to me? What kind of bozo are you, right? So, but then again, buyer's agents, it fits their need and it's a show, right? So we didn't have the time to really develop that level of code. So if that's what we discover that we need to take that out, we would work toward that goal to bring that in. But right now, if it drops into that category, then it would fire off to that person. They'd see it, and they could decide whether or not they want to be interested in that property. So I guess we would recommend that people go back to their saved searches and auto emails and see whether or not they want to filter in or out Do Not Show properties to their clients.
On a client by client basis, or as you recommended before, very correctly, use that concierge service that's available in Matrix, review those listings that are being queued up for you, and decide which ones you don't want.
Yeah, and if I'm with a listing agent and I know that these are going to they have clients for it, and I'm coming soon, right? I'm in no show and I'm coming soon. I might want to put my projected market date in the listing somewhere, right? So that people kind of, as you're building a demand or, getting some pre-market activity, they kind of have a strike date that they want to go. We thought of a pre-market date. We thought of, moving it automatically. We thought of all of these other elements that could be in there. And we said, just go out initially with what we have right now and let it evolve.
Okay. Let's go to IDX just for a second. Once again, let's go back to the example of Mark Messimer's absolutely fabulous real estate emporium. I've got a members only listing. Is it going to wind up over on your data feed at Robert's Galactic Real Estate Service?
No, it won't. It will not be in our IDX feeds. And you can have it on your own listing.
Right. I can put it on my own site.
Your own site, but the cooperating broker cannot distribute that listing.
Okay.
It cannot have it out on the internet.
Okay. Is the seller going to have to submit any authorized paperwork in order to put it into this new type?
Not yet. No, that's part of the common sense, right? You would not go against your seller's directions and you would not misrepresent that property's availability for your seller.
Okay.
So it's on the broker to make sure that relationship is copacetic and kosher and that you're doing everything with your seller's knowledge.
Got it. Let's go to DOM for a second. And we sort of knew this question was coming. I've got a listing in members only show.
Okay.
We decide to go for, and I've got it in there for 10 days. And we decide with the seller that, hey, it's time to up the exposure. And I move it over to our standard active status. What's my days on market going to be on once I come over?
Yeah, when you come over to active, you'll have 10 days on market.
Okay.
We want to be legitimate. We want to be transparent. And we don't want to misrepresent anything to anybody at any time. So the fact that property is being made available to cooperating brokers and their clients, you have to mark that as being on market. When it goes to the global market, that is obviously global. So we're going to carry those days over and you're off and running into, but if you think you're going to go that way, why bother with those 10 days? Right? You just lost 10 days of global marketing. Put it out right away, right? It's only when you have a need, that your seller or your client has a need, that you would use the deferred DOM or the quiet or whisper type of marketing.
I like the term whisper marketing as compared to shouting out at the top of your lungs all the way down the street. Hey, I'm in active status, right? Sometimes you creep up.
Well, today, I mean, I leave it to the practitioner, but are we getting enough traffic? The word I get is no. We're not getting enough traffic on our properties, right? So we do want to get it out to a larger market, right?
Right.
In the event, and even though we're doing showing by appointment under COVID protocols, right? We want more activity. So
Okay.
you would use the global market.
Okay. Question 19. I'm loving the amount of engagement here, Robert. And I can answer this one myself finally. No, these members only listings are only for MLS listings subscribers. If you're from San Francisco, East Bay, MetroList, Barry's, no. These are just for our people and the clients of our subscribers out there.
Very limited market.
Yes. Will I be notified once they go live? So I'm thinking that's almost like a hot sheet report. It was members only. Now tell me if it went active, right? Or it was members only, do not show, but the listing agent moved it over to members only show. Can I search in there? Can I do that? Can I get it? Can I get an alert?
Is it going to be a hot sheet status?
Yeah, it sounds like a hot sheet
I think it would be. I think it would be any change, except that those are status changes.
Yes.
I'll have to find out. That's a great question.
That's a good question.
Is it going to be in the hot sheet? And the question that we have would be, should it be? Right? Should you get notified that this is now went from show to do not show to members only? Right. That's going to be community feedback.
I love that question. I think that's one to get on the phone to Jeffrey Lambrex, who's been there longer than both of us. He should have the answer to that. Toot sweet, as they say. Hey, let's talk about commissions. Being cooperative, letting everyone know what the commission rate is. Is that going to be a required field?
So it is a required field.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's really the required fields in the previous slide are the only ones are not. That's photo and showing. Okay. Right. Those are only not required field, but all the rest of them would be. And then that's part of the evolution. We probably don't need all of those fields to be required fields, but that would be community feedback. Says, I really want to put address, compensation, right? A couple of photos, maybe. Well,
if I'm not showing it, do I really need to put the roof type?
Well, right, yeah, right. Foundation type, right? Yeah. So exactly right.
Okay. And then this is sort of one of those questions on the flow of the status. If I am in members only show, I cannot go backwards.
Yeah, you can't go back. We started from active back to members only kind of thing. And if you go active to the internet, there's really no way to go back. Right. Because, and we might be being selfish, but if there's just no way we're going to get those photos off, that data off. And because if you change it back out of the data feed, that listing is just hanging out there and it won't ever get an update. Right. It'll just be active out there forever. You can't unactive if you're not sending them an update. So taking that and going back to the whole process, it really is linear this way. So that's part of your strategy. You'd have to think about it. How do we want to move through? Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, whatever happened to excluded? That's still
excluded.
Around, right?
It's still there. I mean, again, so the only real change we're putting forth really is active do not show.
Okay.
Right. Our coming soon labels have morphed out to where, because coming soon meant many things to many people. So we're saying, go ahead and market it as you will, as long as brokers can either see it, show it, and sell it or not. Right. That's what we're interested in as an MLS community. So yeah, you can exclude a property, right? And there's
but I can only talk to my office about it.
It would be the same clear cooperation rules that we have today, or we had yesterday, that would apply on today.
Okay. Hey, I'm a big fan of MLS Touch, one of our mobile apps. Am I going to be able to see these?
Not at the release. At the release, we wanted to ensure that it only went to members only, and not have some type of system or platform that would maybe not be able to confirm that. So we fully expect to work with them to be able to have these listings in for agents, but they wouldn't be able to be in for the public. So that's part of the evolution also.
Okay. And these listings, once again, there's a question on how long can I have it in members only?
There's no limit as long as you have an active listing agreement. There's no limit in either of those types.
Okay. And there's a question, and this is, I think it's more clear cooperation. Can we verbally advertise before putting it on the MLS?
Can we verbally advertise?
Yeah, I don't think this is.
No, you can't. You can't.
Only. Yeah,
You can't. You can't share any information or property. Well, you can't. Yeah, you can't share any. If you do, you have one business day to put it on.
Right. You got. Yeah. That's the answer. Kind of thing. Wow. We got to the end of the list. Thank you, Miranda, who's back there feverishly typing into her phone to get messages to me during the show here. Robert, anything you want to reiterate or emphasize before we close this out?
I think that the initial feedback's been very favorable. People have been saying this is great, right? We can see all the properties. We can decide, do we want to be part of them? We have a pathway for agents to bring in their properties as they see fit. They decide what they're going to do. Are you going to show it? Yes, no. It's up to you, not up to us. And so because we have all this convenience and choice, we're getting very favorable feedback. The subtleties and nuances and some of the corner cases and people chipping away at the edges, that's to be expected.
Right.
But generally, the mainstream part of our subscriber base seems to think this is a really good step forward, and at least a really good step in the right direction as we move down into the new millennium, right? And especially with optimism of 2021, we'll be hitting the ground running, hopefully, and we won't be using any members, anything. We'll just be using global.
Correct. Well, it is a solution that was built by the input of the local agents for the local agents. And you just have to cross one border from Santa Clara County to Alameda County, and this feature, this function, these benefits do not exist over there in San Francisco and Barry's and MetroList and so on. So this is the MLS Listings membership getting involved in creating the right solution for themselves. So I like that. I think that's it, guys. Hey, I really want to thank everyone who came to see us today, and all the questions you put down in the Q&A. That's fantastic. We're certainly going to, go back over those questions and start incorporating them into our presentation, Robert, as we sort of move into the holiday season here, because we know we're going to have to still keep talking about this in December and maybe even January. But we'll just keep building up all this input and the feedback and the recommendations so that you can go back to those that make the decisions, other realtors and brokers and agents, to evolve this into a better and better and better local solution.
Yeah, and it's not just this, it's all elements of our system, right? The type of thing that we have a lot of neat things planned, right? In the new year, we have our pro homepage. Being redesigned. Yeah, we have our NorCal Data Share Alliance. That's right,
the big one.
So when you go to the internet, you also will go into the data share, right? So we're going to be seeing MetroList listings. They're going to be seeing our listings,
right?
So,
but not our members only listings.
Not our own members only. But again, when you think about it, when you take a Sacramento listing or you have a cousin in, Sonoma,
right?
You're going to want that out to the world, right? Because you have an obligation. So think about it that way, that, you have a local market, then you have a market that's your market is expanding. All the NorCal 7 MLSs are going to be in cooperation. So that's finally happening.
Right. And CCP, Clear Cooperation, was just, sort of a guideline that was sort of necessary. And the industry is changing. My dad was a broker, way back when. Dad was a broker. This is not my dad's MLS anymore.
Right.
It's bigger and better. So, all right. Hey, once again, thank you, everybody, very much.
Thank you.
For Robert and I and the whole team at MLS Listings and the MLS Studio, I want to wish you guys a safe and healthy Thanksgiving out there, a holiday season to be remembered by all, that's for sure. But please be safe and please stay healthy. as we make it through 2020 and roll into a bigger and better 2021. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Glad you made it.